if you've been following along with my classes this month and last month, each week I have picked an animal to really zoom in on and to think about, to learn a little bit about the anatomy underneath that animal, and to draw that animal in a very realistic style. And then if there's time, this is always my challenge, is trying to finish enough so that we have some time to cartoonify it, because that's kind of how some animators work, is by really zooming in and drawing an animal realistically, they can help you when you're trying to make a solid cartoon character. So today is all about rabbits. And we're not going to draw Bugs Bunny, because I know you guys have all drawn Bugs Bunny probably a million times before. So we're not going to draw bugs, but I do have a cartoon bug or a cartoon bunny that I am going to draw at the end if there's time. So the materials that I'm going to be drawing with today for my more realistic style bunny is I have it's like a, look at the front of it. It's just a drawing pad. It's called a toned tan Strathmore pad, sketch paper. And I like it because the paper itself is not white, which can be really nice when you're trying to draw something that is a little more on the realistic side. So like, these are some of the drawings I have in it. So today we're going to work on a bunny, and I'm going to be using this pad, and I'm also going to be using just regular pencils. So I like to draw with, I like this is a 2B. Yeah, I used to have a set of pencils from Amazon. So I like the B, I like the 2B. I'm going to use some of those. And then I also have a white charcoal pencil that I like to add in details. But what I'm using is, you do not at all have to have exactly the same things that I'm using. Your drawings don't have to look like my drawing it looks. Your drawings are yours. Use what you have. I know some of you like to work, like Tater likes to work digitally. If you work on programs, that's awesome. If you are drawing something else other than a rabbit, and you just want to come and you're using this to just kind of watch, that's totally fine too. If you do participate and you want to share, we'll send some time. Leave some time at the very end to share any drawings or any work that you would like to share with us, whether that's something you did today or something you did another day. All right, I'm going to switch cameras. Hope everybody's doing good. Welcome. I'm glad we see some new faces. All right. So one of the things that I've been doing first is kind of having a quick look at the anatomy of animals. So I know some of you might have been surprised last week when I showed you the anatomy of a bird, because it looks really strange underneath. But a rabbit is pretty simple in terms of its anatomy. It looks kind of like, at least to me, it looks kind of like I would expect it to look, with the spine curving down and then coming up and curving around. The legs are very much like mammals. If you were following along on my cat or dog lesson, they're very much similar, where this part up here is kind of the equivalent of your thigh. The bug's knees are really up high. This part right here is kind of the shin, and this whole thing back here is kind of the foot of the rabbit. So, and that's the same thing like you see on a cat or on a horse. This whole part back here is its foot, and the part that it really balances on is just its toes. And that's the part that it hops on. And it's got, this picture doesn't have the musculature, but it's got to have some strong muscles back in here to help bound it along. The ears, rabbit's ears are mostly cartilage like our ears, but there's two types of bunnies. There's like the ones that have the ears that stay high, and then there's the flop-eared bunnies that are the ones that are just kind of down. Bugs Bunny is of this variety where his ears are up high. And yeah, and it's got it. They even though we think of a bunny tail as like a little poof on the end, it does, like, you can see that the spine is really an extension of that little poof. It's more like a little flap almost. So it kind of, the tail, the bones kind of come out, and you can see just a hint of it right there, the hint of that little, like, the little tail bones. And that's what forms the tail of the bunny. All right, so I'm going to be working from a picture today for my realistic drawing. So I'm going to be using, I thought this guy was kind of cute. So I'm going to be drawing from here, from him. But you can draw from any kind of bunny you want. It doesn't even have to be a bunny. It could be any kind of drawing. But yeah, I'm gonna use, I like to use photographs are always nice to start with when you're drawing animals. What's even better is drawing real animals in person, but that can be kind of tricky because an animal won't stay still for you. So you gotta work fast. All right, so I'm going to start with some shapes, some guidelines. I'm breaking down this bunny's head. So his head is kind of circular. So it's kind of like, so there's like kind of like a circular shape right here. So I'm going to start, and I'm sorry if you can't see this very well. I'll zoom in a little bit, but I'm kind of drawing kind of lightly. So it's kind of circular, and then there's a like kind of a loop that comes around the back like this. And then the bunny's, it's got this kind of cheek that comes out. So it's kind of this shape. So, and I'm just starting off with some really sketchy lines. I'm going to do a line down the center right here. It's going to be a guideline that's going to help me place all the features on this bunny's face. And then maybe some curving guidelines to show that this is the direction the bunny's face is going in. So it's kind of goes like this. So that's kind of where the bunny's face is. So if that's the guideline, I'm going to start to kind of pencil in where I think the eyes should go, the shape of the eyes. So there's one eye that's going to go around kind of like this. Oh, I'm just realizing that I put this so high close to the top. I may just barely have room for his ears. That's a good note if you're doing it. You don't want to start too high because bunny's ears are pretty tall. Okay, so there's going to be about one eye is about here, and then the other eye kind of comes out. So the other eye is farther back, so we really only see a hint of his eye. And I'm actually going to use my eraser because I put it in too low. I started to pencil it in too low. So it's really going to go, if I draw a curve, that's why these guidelines are kind of nice. If I draw a curve going across like this, I can kind of see, all right, well, that's about where the top of that eye is going to be. So it kind of comes around like this. There's like kind of the eye socket. The actual eye, we only see the hint of it going around like that. And then coming down, here's that guideline. Guidelines coming in like this. That's going to help me place this bunny's nose. So his nose is kind of comes down like this. And around like that, kind of like that. And then down here, curves down and around. And then this side kind of goes off to the edge over here. So I always find that placing these guidelines really does help you kind of figure out what the angle and the shape of your character or of your drawing, your animal. I find that it's just really helpful because it helps you kind of imagine where this bunny or this animal is in 3D form. So I'm just kind of penciling in. So he's got this kind of jowls. Got these kind of cheeks. This bunny has cheeks. He's got bunny cheeks. So his cheek has kind of comes around and it comes up. And actually now I'm going to start to pencil in a little bit of his ears. So his ear, there's curving up, and his ear is actually about the same width as his head. So like I said, I just barely have room for it. It's going to go right to the top of my paper. So this one's kind of curving around like that. And it's coming down and over like that. And then there's like it's got a flap. So the curving flap is curving around like this. So it kind of looks like that. And that's the front ear, and then the back ear is kind of coming out from the middle point. And it's a little bit lower than this one, slightly, because it's farther back. It's in the back. Curves around. And down, just like that. And then let me look closely at this picture. Yeah. So I guess this is the back of the ear. So we don't actually see a flap on this one because it's turned around. So this ear is turned. Okay, so we've got Bunny's ears in. We've got Bunny's eye. I'm gonna fix his eye a little bit. I had it a little large. So in his eye, the eye's about like that. Got his nose in. Now he's got some like darker spots. There's like some shading going on. That's one of the reasons why I like this bunny as an example, because he had some natural, like, he's like a brownish bunny, but he has some natural like kind of grayish colors and shading on him. So I'm just gonna pencil that in just a little bit. And before I do too much more detail, let me zoom out. Now I'm gonna start to add in some of his body. So this bunny, like some of its body, we don't really see too much of his body, but because he's kind of foreshortened. So yeah, let me show you the picture. Here's the picture of him. We don't see too much of him because he's kind of foreshortened, but I do see there's a big shape here that says like chest. There's a circle. And I know it's a little tricky to see because I'm drawing kind of lightly. But you proportionally, you want to kind of think about, well, okay, that's his head. I want to have about the same amount of space. And and looking at this, I can already see that I need to do his nose a little bigger. Sometimes that happens. That's why you don't ever want to get into too much detail before you solidify all your shapes. So his chest kind of comes around here, and then there's another shape that's coming out back here that's going to be for his back, and it's kind of, see how it's meeting back here into his head. So it's coming back around, and then there's a little bit of a hint back here where his back haunches, I guess haunches, I don't know another word, back foot, back legs kind of are coming in. And I'm not going to get I don't want to do too much detail right now, but I'm just kind of penciling in the structure. So his foot is down here. We actually don't see his paws because they're hidden in the grass. And then over here, this is other foot. He's got kind of a nice big, so I'm going to actually just do some squiggly lines down here. I'm going to be for the grass. Okay. All right. So now I have some basic shapes penciled in. Let me take my eraser, kind of clean up a little bit, just a little bit. Coming back out and in. I like rabbits to draw because I actually don't generally draw too many rabbits, but they're kind of nice because the anatomy of the rabbit is not that challenging. I mean, there's not a lot of like underlying things. Let me zoom in again. Okay, so now I'm going to go back up to his head, and I'm using my 2B. I'm going to go ahead and start to like darken in some of these things because I'm pretty confident of this eye. So I'm leaving the highlights. You always want to like try to leave in these highlights of the eye, and I'm going to go ahead and darken up the rest of the eye. It's a pretty black shape on this drawing. I'm going to go ahead and darken it up. So the thing that's really going to make this rabbit look like a rabbit is once we start to add in the hair, the fur. He doesn't have hair, he has fur. And adding in a fur texture will really start to make this come alive. So adding in some different shades in the eye. Like that. Just like that. And the other eye is coming up here so we actually see the ridge of the eyebrow. or the eye coming through, and then this is the eye. There's just a very hint of a highlight at the very top of this eye right here. And the rest is in black. He has black eyes, just like this. Does anybody have a bunny rabbit as a pet? I had one when I was really little. You'll laugh at the name. My brother at the time just scoffed at me because I called him Nibbles. He's like, that's the dumbest name for a rabbit. In my defense, I was only, how old was I? Probably like 6 or 7 when we got the rabbit. Nibbles was really cute though. He lived for a pretty long time too. Okay, so, all right. So the rabbit's nose is kind of coming down like this. There's like actually a little bit of a hint of a pink quality down here in his nose. And he's got like a little bit here. And then there's some darkness. And then he's got coming around like that. And then there's kind of coming around like that. So the cool thing about mid-tone paper is because it's already brown, or sometimes they sell mid-tone paper in like grays too. But because you're not starting off with a white piece of paper, you can go darker. You don't have to go quite as dark on the colors. So it's a lot easier to get a nice contrast between your lights and your darks versus using just a piece of white paper. When you have a piece of white paper, you have to go much darker with your shading to really get some contrast. Oh, you had a bunny named Wallace? That's really cute. I like the name Wallace. That's a good name for a bunny. Did you have a reason for naming him Wallace?
My wife Heidi just liked the name, so
Oh, that's
yeah,
really
I thought it
cute.
was a good name. He
That's
was
a
a
good
great
name.
rabbit.
Aw. What kind of rabbit was he?
I don't know. He's just a black rabbit, and we actually found him. Someone just kind of um, dumped him off nearby, so we found
Oh.
him and brought him in and gave him his own bedroom and everything.
Aw. I didn't know this. So my nieces and nephews just got a rabbit, and I didn't realize that rabbits can be, I guess, potty trained,
Oh
in that
yeah,
like they're trainable into like to go to the bathroom like only in one spot, which is
yeah. Wallace had his own litter box.
that's awesome. I definitely did not know. I don't think ours was trained. Definitely don't think ours was trained. Okay, so for his fur, that's kind of what's going to give this rabbit, really make him start to look very realistic. And what you want to do is you want to do like to have good texture in in any kind of creature. Let me erase some of these guidelines now because I don't want them in the way. But to have the good texture, what you really need to do is you need to like do lots and lots of lines going in the direction, kind of wrapping around your animal. So in this case, he's got like his fur is kind of coming up in like lots of little short lines coming up going this direction. So I know it's a little tricky to see, but I'm going to start doing lots and lots of little lines kind of going all up around the top of his head. As I am going over to the side of his face and his cheeks, I'll start to turn the lines so that they're curving around and maybe even down, like on the bottom. But the trick to a good texture is really taking your time and adding in lots of lines, like or adding it's really just taking your time. There's a lot of a lot of artists, and I know I've said this, if you take my class, you probably heard me say this a ton of times, but a lot of artists really, they don't take their time when they're adding in the texture. They don't like, spend enough time to really work it in, and it shows. So I always highly emphasize trying your best to um like really spend time if you're trying to go for a more realistic style drawing, really spend the time to try to add in that the texture of whatever it is that you're drawing, whether that's the hair on the human that you're drawing, or in our case the hair of the rabbit. Drawing you're almost like you're drawing each individual hair. Good texture takes time. It's not something that is done easily or quickly. I'm going to go ahead and erase some of this because there's a little bit of a hint of white around his eye like that. And I'm actually going to use a different pencil. Use one with a harder lead, to try to get some of these individual lines in, because I think that's helpful. So if you don't know, the pencil gradings, if you've ever wondered why some pencils are labeled B and some pencils are labeled H, the H stands for hardness of the lead, and the B stands for blackness of the lead. So a 2H pencil is going to have a nice hard lead, and a 2H or sorry, 2B pencil is going to have a nice black lead. And you want like, that's why it's nice to have a set of pencils that have both, because you want a variety, because sometimes you want to use a nice thin line. Like if you're an architect, or if you're doing drawings that are like of buildings or cars, and you want like a nice straight line on them, it can be really, really nice to have some B pencils, because they're just, some H pencils, because they have nice hard lead and you can get like a nice fine line on them. And if you're doing a drawing like this, it's really nice to have B, especially if you're doing shading, because shading you use a lot of darker lead, so to get that nice contrast. So I'm adding in some of these pencil lines going this direction. I know it's really kind of hard to see what I'm doing. I wish this could focus a little better, but I'm really trying to focus in on adding in each individual line. Does anybody have any other any other animal suggestions for me for next week? Like I said, it's really kind of up to you. If there's something that you've always wanted to learn or practice drawing, just let me know. Adding in some dark up here, top of the eye. So you want a lot of contrast. So I'm really trying to pencil in the fur and the hair where there is some darker patches. So there's some darker patches up here, and over here, over here. Here. Does anybody have any questions for me? I know I've been doing a lot of talking, but all right. Anybody been doing anything fun lately they want to tell us about? So I'm actually turning my paper this direction because some of the hairs on this rabbit are going this direction, around his face. And then they actually even start to curve down and go out. So that's the trick, is really trying to make your lines match the way the direction is going. And the lines are coming out like this on the bottom. And they're a little bit longer. So the ones on the top of his head, think about length too, the ones on the top of his head up here are a little bit shorter. And as I'm getting closer to the body of the rabbit down here, the lines are getting a little bit longer. So I'm going to go back up here and work on his face a little bit more. Adding in some more of these lines.
Couple of suggestions from the chat: a
Yeah.
snake and a giraffe.
Ooh, those are both good. Yeah, we haven't done snakes. Giraffe. Ooh, that would be a cool one too. Nice. Thank you for the suggestions. Okay. So under here, I'm actually going to leave, I'm penciling in because he has, this rabbit has some white patches. So I'm going to use my eraser to kind of clean up the part right underneath his nose, because those areas I'm going to leave light. And I might even go back in with the white charcoal pencil and add in some white under there to really make it pop. So the white charcoal is really nice on mid-tone paper like this, because you can really start to like add in the whites, which you can't do when you're using white paper. White charcoal on white paper doesn't really work, but white charcoal on a mid-tone paper will really pop. So I take my white charcoal now. Actually, if I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and start to, oh no, this pencil, if you were with me last week, it was doing the same thing. It keeps breaking. All right, let me get my other one. I don't know what's up with that pencil. I think it must have, sometimes when you drop a pencil, like especially charcoal, because it's so soft, it the lead will break inside of the pencil, and no matter how many times you sharpen it, it still like ends up breaking. So I'm just starting to add in some of the highlights, which all of a sudden, like, it really makes things pop, because all of a sudden now you have a much wider range of colors. I'm gonna start penciling in some of the hair that's down here around his nose, right underneath. And some hair, he's got some hairs around here. So I started with the blacks, and now I'm going back in, I'm going over, and I'm starting to pencil in some of the whiter hairs, lighter colored hairs. I need to sharpen this pencil too. Hopefully this one won't break on me. There we go. So what you're really doing is you're trying to build up a nice sense of contrast between your lights and your darks. And this, adding in some of this white, is gonna, I always like, it's like playing a game, like you're going like back and forth and taking turns, where you start by adding darks, and then you might add in some lights, and then after you add in the lights, you realize, oh, I haven't gone dark enough, so I need to add some more lights in. I'm going around his eyes with the white. Got some more highlights here, right around here, and actually all around his face on this side. There's some light. And all coming around this way, there's more light tones here, because this rabbit is really a mixture of brown fur and white fur and black fur. He's really a mix of all of them. I'm going to turn my paper this way to really get some of that texture going in this direction. So drawing things realistically takes a lot more time than drawing a cartoon, because you're really focusing in and honing in on some of these shapes and textures and colors. And I'm going to use, this is a blending tool. It's like just a smudge. I'm going to actually smudge some of this around his nose just a little bit, And then I'm gonna go back in with the dark. This is my 8. I'm gonna actually get a darker one. Let's see, what do I have here? I'll use my 2B. So it's like a game where you add in lights, and then you're like, okay, now I need to go darker here. So back and forth and back and forth. You're building up those layers. Does anybody have any questions or any comments or anything they want to work through so I am open to see, like I can if you're having trouble or if you have any questions, I can try to troubleshoot from here. Oh. All right. Darkness back here. The last thing that we're going to add that's really going to make it look even more realistic is the whiskers. I want to tone down this white just a little bit around here. I'm going over it with a pencil just a little bit. So you want to think about what is the brightest white in your picture, and on the mine happens to be the whites of the eyes. So the other whites, I'm actually going to tone them down just a little bit by going over them with a little bit of lead to make them look a little more muted. I'm going to take my white again. Oh, and continue adding a little bit more hair up here. Going around the side like that. I just like to go back and forth and back and forth, working in layers. So I'm probably not going to do much more than his head in today's class because, like I said, I want to leave a little bit of time for drawing a more cartoonified version. I don't know if cartoonified is a word. I keep using it. Is that a word, Scott, or am I just making it up?
I think that's a word. I've seen it before.
Cartoonified?
Yeah,
Cartoony?
we'll say it's a word.
Okay, we're going to pretend it's a word. Now I'm really starting to look at my picture and make sure that I have all those darkest areas really darkening in, like trying to make sure the contrast is high. Like there's darker areas over here. Some really darker areas right in here. I might even I'm gonna break out my 3B pencil, which is my darkest lead pencil, and really kind of add in the darkest of the dark, which is the eye, to bump up that contrast. And this other eye down here. And darkening up there. And then I haven't done much on the ear, but the ear is pretty dark up here. Okay. One nice thing you can do if you happen to have a small eraser, which do I have one here? Let's see. I think I have a varnish. I thought I had a varnish pencil. Yeah. I don't have an eraser, but I have a pencil that is called a water-based varnish pencil, and I'm going to sharpen it. But it can act like a little bit of an eraser, so it can be kind of nice to erase like lines in. That, especially if you're working on white paper, that can be something that's nice to use. I'm not sure how I don't usually use it. Yeah, I think on this, it might just end up blending these colors, but let me, oh, this really needs to be sharpened a little more. I don't know if it's gonna work well on this one, but if you're working on white paper, a water-based varnish pencil can work like an eraser, and it can just like, it's sharpenable, so you can get like a nice fine tip to get into those details. But I'm looking at mine, I realize I need to darken this up a little bit down here. Right here. So I might add in some of those, start to add in some of these whiskers, because it's kind of what makes this rabbit really look like a rabbit, is all of these whiskers that are coming out, and there's some really nice, like lots of them, all kind of coming out from up here. Oops, sorry, I don't know if my head was in the way for that. But there's ones that are coming out over here like this. They even come down. I think rabbits have even more whiskers than cats do. I must use them all to like, so there's ones that are coming down like this and out like that. There's even whiskers on their eyelids that are coming up, which I'm going to add in some of these eyelid whiskers. And there's some more that are coming out over here. Some that are coming out like that, even like eyelashes. And there's even more that are coming out like this. All right. Starting to look a little bit more. I'm gonna use this to see if this water-based varnish pencil will help with the blending. Yeah, I'm gonna use it to help blend some of these colors together. Give it a little bit more of a softer look and blend in some of these colors. I'm using the varnish pencil like a blending tool almost. Oh, it's wiggly in there. Okay. I don't want to do too much more. So, all right, well, so there's the start of mine. I know I'm not finished, but there's the start of my rabbit. Obviously, I have way more to do on him, but I don't want to spend too much time like doing all the texture of the rabbit. Does anybody want to share what they have so far? I know you guys are not finished. Clearly, I'm not finished either. But if you would like to share, I'd love to see what you've been working on, even if it's not a rabbit. Ooh, let's see, Oliver. Oh wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. What an amazing cartoon rabbit. I love it. I love it. Love it. Awesome. Well, that's what you're ahead of the game. That's what we were going to work on next. Does anybody want to share what they've done? Kat, you want to see?
So just kind of a I guess sea themed axolotl dragon that's half finished.
Ooh, that's awesome. Very nice. I like how that's wrapping around. It's wrapping around a shell, you said?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
I dig how it's wrapping around. That's awesome. Very cool. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share what they've got so far?
I think Simeon would like to share.
Sure, Simeon.
This ooh,
Spotlight
this is my dad's.
you. Wow, your dad did an awesome job with the texture. That looks great. And I love that he left the highlight of that eye and the nose. That looks awesome. Tell him he did an awesome job. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to put my realistic rabbit to the side for now. And the reason why, and I know I keep mentioning this, but the reason why I think it's important to practice drawing things realistically first is because only after you've drawn things realistically, or when you've drawn things realistically and you really truly studied it, then you can kind of break it down and break it apart. So I'm going to use my HB pencil. So for my cartoon rabbit, so the trick to a cartoon is kind of exaggerating all the shapes and exaggerating all of the features. So depending on what kind of rabbit you want, what kind of creature you want, sometimes shapes, if you've taken our class, or if you've taken our cartooning class at Chuck Jones, which you can sign up to take anytime, it is, we learn a lot about shape language. One of the things which addresses shape language. And so some of I'm gonna start with a circle for this rabbit's head. So for this cartoon rabbit, and some of the things that we learn are how certain shapes have different emotions. Things that are cute tend to have like big heads. If you think of a baby, anything, baby human, baby animal, they all proportionally have a bigger head than the body. So the bigger the head on an animal, the kind of cuter it is. So I'm gonna do like, maybe this is gonna be the body. The body's gonna be kind of smaller. This is gonna be a chest area. And I'm gonna add in, it's gonna be a shape here, a bigger shape, a bigger oval shape here for his cheeks. So I'm just kind of, I know it's a little tricky to see some of my penciled in lines, but it'll all become clear in a minute when I start to really go over these shapes. Pencil in these ears, give them nice big bunny ears. This drawing will be much quicker because I'm not going to be doing any of the texture. So there's ear flap. It's going to come around like that. One ear is going to be kind of curving down, and then the other ear will be, maybe it'll be curving straight up. So like this. Oh, almost don't have enough room. I always do that. Every time for bunnies. Always go to, yeah, I don't have enough room. His ear goes off the page. That's okay. Every time. All right, so it's going to curve around like that, and then like that. Okay, and then I'm going to give this rabbit some really big feet. So he's going to be sitting, and he's going to have some really big feet. So maybe an oval over here for a foot, and another oval back over here for another foot. Yeah, and then he's got his haunch, his back haunch, his leg is going to be connecting here, and here, and then maybe he's got like his arms are gonna come down, his paws are gonna be down here, coming down straight. Like that. Okay, so I know it's a little tricky to see now, but now that I kind of have the shapes penciled in, I'm gonna start to solidify this bunny. So his head's gonna come up like this, straight line. He's gonna have some like little hair bits, kind of like Bugs does. And it lets, before I get too much, I can start with the face shape. So we've got some kind of like bugs, some big cheeks, and a little chin down here. Before I do too much more, I do want to pencil in where the eyes are going to go. So I'm going to have big eyes. So again, if you want your animal to look, your cartoon to look cute, the bigger the eye, the better. So I'm going to give him some big eyes comparatively to his head. And his head shape, I'll do like a guideline. His head shape is kind of going this direction, like that. So his other eye is going to be kind of like this. Yeah, kind of like that shape. And his nose, so his nose kind of, the shape kind of comes out just a little bit. His nose is going to be maybe right here. Little triangular nose. And coming down, he's going to have a wide open mouth. So maybe he'll go like this, and he'll go like that. And then maybe he'll have like a big wide open mouth like that. And let's give him some teeth, or her, it. I don't know the gender of this rabbit. Let's give it, let's just call it some buck teeth, as rabbits have for biting all those carrots. And before, he looks kind of creepy right now, so let's go ahead and pencil in some of the eyes. Let's add some highlights in there in this eye. I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to add in some circular one here, and I'll do a big circular one here. And this part of his eye is going to be blue, so I'm going to shade it in right now, but he's going to have blue eyes. In fact, do I have blue right here? I do. I'm going to go ahead and use my blue. Go ahead and do the other side. Okay. This is going to come down. His nose is coming over. You got a cute little bottom part right here, bottom part here. And he's gonna have some curves around his eyes. He looks a little crazy right now. I gotta fix him up a little bit. Let's add in some little hairy bits. Curves around. He's got maybe a little chin going on down here. Give him a little bit bigger smile. And then maybe I'm gonna come back in and fix him up a little bit, but he's got, kind of goes like that. And then maybe down here, let me make his nose. I think his nose is a little too low. Let's make him a little taller. little bit of a chin down here. That come around, so his arm is going to come down. He'll have like a paw. And I'm not going to do too much detail. Maybe his arm is coming up. That, his body, like little leg. His other arm's maybe coming out, his other paw. He's got some like little chesty hairs. Maybe there's like a curve here. And I want his feet to be nice and big, and we're looking at the bottom of them. So maybe like I'll add in the like paw prints. So like that. Right. And then inside of the ears up here, just gonna quickly shade them in. Shade in this part. And then I would probably, lastly, I would go through and start to clean up all my lines because it's pretty sketchy. It's pretty rough right now, and that's okay. So it would come in like that. And I would clean them up a little bit. You're redrawing your happy rabbit. Oh, I love it. Will you share it with us when you're done? Oliver, that would be awesome. Love to see. Maybe down here there's a little bit of a tongue, the way you see like Bugs' tongue sometimes. It's actually it would be curving in like this. Let me draw the other direction. So like just tongue, a hint of a tongue down here. And then you can color shade in the dark parts of inside the mouth. There we go. Here's my goofy rabbit. I don't know. He doesn't have a name. I don't know what rabbit this is. But there he is. Would anybody like to share what they have so far? clean up a little bit, solidify some of these lines. Erase some of those sketchy lines I did at the beginning. There we have it. So there was like, I know I'm not totally finished on either of these, but we have the beginning of a realistic rabbit right next to a cartoon rabbit. You can see which one clearly takes more time, but I think it's nice to do both. Just to like, I think it challenges you as an artist a little bit. Try your hand at drawing things realistically. Does anybody want to share anything they've got?
Yes.
Awesome, love to see.
Okay, so I redrew my drawing of Happy Rabbit. So he's an earlier Looney Tunes character who premiered in 1938 along with Porky Pig, and he was the first person to ever go up against Elmer Fudd.
No way. I think now that you mention him, I totally recognize him. I love that you have the whole history. Are you a big Looney Tunes fan?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's
definitely.
Awesome. Well, your Happy Rabbit is spot on. Spot on. It's really cool to see, especially how, let me switch cameras so you can see my face, how the characters kind of evolve over time and how they almost simplify to a certain extent. As they continue to, like, you know, to grow in years. I find that, like, sometimes when you're doing a cartoon, especially if when you're creating your own original cartoons, simplify, draw and then redraw and then redraw again. And how can you simplify that even more? Like that I think is one of the keys to a super strong character. But I love that. I love that you did an awesome job at that. Thanks for sharing, Oliver.
I also did this Daffy Duck.
Ooh, let's see your Daffy. Oh wow. That's a great Daffy, and it's an awesome frame. Very nice.
Thanks.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing. Tater, you have your hand up. Yeah, let's see.
Hello. Just another one where I've done it digitally. The rabbit wasn't working for me, so I have no idea what abomination I have created.
Whoa.
So, the body is still very much so a work in progress, but yeah, that's a thing that I've done, apparently.
It definitely has an expression. There's definitely some feelings going on there. What do you think the creature's feeling right now? You think he's like bored?
I have no idea.
He's given some serious side eye. I like how you've really kind of added in the underlying like shapes. I think it's awesome that you have like I can see the underlying anatomy. I can see the cheekbones and the eyeballs coming out of the eye sockets.
Yeah.
And the collarbones. I can see that you're really building it up from from the inside out, which is awesome. It definitely gives all of your creatures like a more solid feeling to them. So awesome work.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank
Lily,
you.
Yeah, Lily and Heather, do you guys want to show?
Actually, I've been doing quite a few things over the course of the class. If you can see it, there's a bunny there.
Oh, it's so hard. I can see a little bit of it. It's hard to see the yellow.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Oh.
And then also, I was working on character design.
Oh, that's rad. That's beautiful. I like the dress. I like the braids. Ooh, these are nice, and good boots and the white hair. I like the colors. You've been really thoughtful about your color choice. Those are great. You want to share?
Here's some characters that I was working on.
Ooh, these are awesome. This whole page is awesome. I like the whole like overlapping characters. And like the
Then I drew a small bunny.
oh, and you went one step further than we did, and you even drew your bunny in different you're almost doing like a model sheet of your bunny in different expressions. I like how his ears like go meow when he looks sad. That's awesome. It's super cute. Thank you for sharing, girls. Oh wait, go back, show that one more time. Sorry, we missed it.
I turned the background black. It makes it look a little bit freaky.
But now we can see it. Oh, that's awesome. Wait, is he lifting a weight?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, is he like he's like muscle bunny? he's doing his workout.
Yeah.
I love it. I love exerciser bunny. That's really funny. That'd be a really funny character. This like kind of like chirpy, I guess chipper bunny who's like, you know, like a workout bunny who's trying to like encourage you to like work out more. Just do 2 more. I'll count you down. That's really cute. All right. Last call for anybody who would like to share. If not, no worries. Just as a reminder, we're a donation-based studio, so if you have the means to, Scott just threw up the link. It's at Take Action. We are always happy to have any donations from you guys. They keep our doors open and allow us to teach these free classes. So I hope you had fun. I hope you tried out something new. I saw some awesome work from all of you. And next week, I will be letting you know. I'm guessing, I guess, a last call for any suggestions. Right now, I've got snake or giraffe. So it's going to be one of those unless somebody has any other thoughts.
Sea star.
Sea star. Ooh. Sea star would be kind of interesting. Maybe like a whole series on like undersea creatures. Oh my gosh.
I've been drawing lots of squids and octopi lately.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I have two votes for snake. So maybe, but you know what? Snakes are pretty simple. So maybe I'll have time to do sea stars and snakes. Did you hear this as sea star? like C++? Are you just thinking in code? You've been programming too long, Tater. Shark. Ooh, a shark is a good idea too. Huh. All right, you've given me some stuff to think about. So next week will be a surprise animal day. Well, thank you for your suggestions. All right, I will see you guys next week. All right, bye.
Bye. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.